Hello and welcome to day 143 of Dungeon23, the series where we make a room of a mega dungeon every day for a year. Today's gonna be frankly a boss. He's not the boss, but he's like a mini boss, kind of. He is pretty tough. He does have some minions, but he's not the blue skeleton commander. He is just a very tough skeleton. And that is gonna be our heavy armored blue skeleton. And if my mouse would work, we'll zoom in on him. Here he is in all of his blue armored glory. And what he is he is a modified skeletal minotaur, which can be found in the monster manual. And the way he functions is that he has 67 HP and 17 AC, very tough. And he is identical to the Skeleton Minotaur, as I've said, except for the following things. He loses his vulnerability to bludgeoning damage, so just hitting him a bunch isn't going to be as effective as it used to be, although he still maintains his resistance to piercing damage. His AC is higher, so it's a 17 instead of, I believe, a 12, which it normally is for the Skeletal Minotaur. The Skeletal Minotaur has an ability called Charge, where whenever it moves at least 10 feet, and it uses its gore attack, which is basically charging with its horns, it does extra damage. And now he has to move 15 feet, and it also does bludgeoning damage instead of piercing damage, although it doesn't really matter too much. If he uses his charge attack, he can only move in a straight line and cannot stop. So he has to move at least 15 feet, but because his speed is 40 feet, he's going to move the entire 40 feet in a straight line if he uses his charge attack, or his gore attack with the charge ability, technically. And again, he cannot stop. So if he runs into a wall or something hard or impossible to move, then it'll take 1d6 bludgeoning damage for every 5 feet it moved. Anyone who has played basically any video game with like a big, strong charging enemy knows what the gimmick here is. You want to have him charge at you, then, move out of the way, and then, he can't stop moving, so he hits what's behind him. And that way he takes some damage, and when it's your turn, you can hit him from behind. It's a whole established game function that has been working for a long time, so gonna have it here. And other than that, instead of having a great axe, it has a maul. And I have that attack down here, so here we are. So it's a +6 to hit, really easy to hit, one target obviously. Now, a normal great axe does 1d12 damage, and because a large creature using a large weapon, it's 2d12. Now, a maul is 2d6 damage, and because the size larger, it's doubled. Now it is 4d6. So 4d6 plus its +4 strength modifier of bludgeoning damage. This thing hits like a truck. Very, very, very damaging. This guy is very, very hard to beat. He's very similar to that zombified ogre that was higher up in the dungeon, and he's more of like an environmental hazard as opposed to something you actually have to fight. Although, there is a way for the party to beat him, and that's with his own minions. So this guy is obviously very large and very, well, not slow, he is pretty fast, but he needs a lot of room to do what he does best. So, to make sure that he could actually get out of this area and into the other places, he has some little skeleton buddies here who will tunnel for him to make these caverns wider so he can move through them easier without having to squeeze through. That's these skeletal tunnelers. And if you notice here, they have little pickaxes, little mining helmets, and also bandoliers of dynamite. But don't worry, they don't throw dynamite, they just have it. They are completely identical to normal unarmored skeletons, so their AC is like, I want to say 12, nowhere nearly as high as 16 like the other armored skeletons. It has a burrowing speed of 20 feet, so it can like dig underground and move around and all that stuff. It could cast the Mold Earth cantrip, although this specific instance, it's a touch spell instead of having a range of 30 feet. So it has to actually move the dirt like physically. It just could do it as an action. And here's the interesting part. If it takes fire damage, it explodes at the end of its next turn. The explosion is identical to the Horn of Gunpowder that's found in the DMG, all the way at the back by the Renaissance weapons. And what that is all creatures within 5 feet of it, either 5 or 10 feet of it, have to make a DC 12 dex save or take, I want to say 3d6 fire damage. It's either fire or bludgeoning damage. It's weird how explosion damage is calculated for damage type, but it's like 3d6 damage, or half as much on a successful save. And if it's killed and doesn't explode, then it drops 1d4 minus 1 sticks of dynamite, which is just identical to the gunpowder horn, where you set it on fire and it explodes for that much damage and has that save. Pretty simple. An opportunity for a lot of explosive loot, again, to help the party blow up that locked, sealed vault door that contains the lower levels. And instead of a short bow and a short sword, it only has a pickaxe. Let's see here. Yeah, so it's a +2 to hit because of strength-based weapon. It's basically a war pick, so it doesn't do a whole lot of damage output because it's not going to hit a lot, and also it doesn't have any modifiers for its strength. So it's just a flat 1d8 piercing damage with a +2 to hit. It's unlikely to do any real damage. It's more so just a little bit of self-defense. It's mainly going to be just digging around underground, maybe popping up and swinging, then dropping it back down. Primarily what it's going to be doing is trying to clear out tunnels and make them wider for this massive juggernaut of basically a boss to just tear through the party. But if you kill these guys, then the heavy skeleton's not going to be able to like move through the tunnels as quickly. Also, it's large, so it's going to have to be like above the floor level, so it may have to worry about getting shot from artillery and such, kind of, because it's more like just an ambient effect. So it really wants to have these guys alive, but it's always going to prioritize attacking the party, as these little guys are going to prioritize making a path to the party. And that is basically what these guys do. They dig and explode if they take fire damage. I was contemplating them having explode upon defeat, but I figured, nah, otherwise it's just going to have the party kill him with melee attacks and getting killed and then pissed off at it. But yeah, this is the room. One of the tougher encounters, although I'm not entirely sure it's quite as difficult as it should be for this party. I'll have to do some more reading, kind of hopefully fine-tune things a bit more. Hopefully the action economy is a bit helped here by having some little minions run around. And yeah, if you want to see more interesting skeleton fights and just interesting creature fights in general, then consider liking this video, commenting down below, and subscribing so you can see these videos and recommendations more often. There's also notifications if you'd want to turn them on. Or you could always just come back tomorrow because, as I said at the beginning of the video, these uploads are daily. It's a daily challenge, and they're going to keep happening whether you like them to or not. So yeah, thanks for watching and or listening. I apologize for the poor quality. It's not going to get any better.